Legendary South African actor Arnold Vosloo, thank you so much for joining us on 5 Unscripted. I'm so excited to have you here in person.
Lekker, man. Thanks for inviting me. And it's exciting to be talking about Ludik.
Yeah, I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.
You've been in South Africa for 2 Netflix productions more recently, so it was Silverton Siege at first and now Ludik.
Yes.
We actually spoke via video call when Silverton Siege released, and it was such an awesome chat, so I really enjoyed it. And there was a moment where you showed me a picture that you had on your phone through the video call. You held your phone to the screen.
Right, yeah.
So I thought it would be quite cool today to find some more pictures from your career and show you the pictures and see if you can think of a story that comes to mind when I show you the pictures. So I'll start with the Silverton Siege picture, which you actually showed me at first. That's this one.
Right.
Yeah, what comes to mind when you look at that picture?
Yeah, I remember this day. We were on Church Square. That's Mandla Dube in the driver's seat, so to speak, is our director. I think the reason I showed you or presented this picture to you was to say 20, 30 years ago, well, 40 years ago, when the real event happened in Silverton, that you couldn't have had a black man on a dolly directing a white man. It just was not going to happen in those days. So I think that's the reason I wanted to show you this picture on that particular project, yeah. But it's also the other cool thing about this picture that it's a dolly shot. And a dolly, for people that don't know, is a piece of camera gear that rides on a long track. And you just don't see those much in movies anymore because they now use Steadicams. And so it's just a different technology. So it's nice to see. Whenever I'm on a movie and somebody lays down a dolly, I always say to the crew, come, bring your cameras and take a picture because this is going out of fashion. You don't see this much, yeah.
That's so cool. I didn't know that. They didn't use dollies really anymore.
No, they use dollies still, but a dolly on a track is a rare thing because whenever there's camera movement, the camera can just articulate much more on a Steadicam operator's body than it can on a dolly. So it's a rare thing. But I made a movie years ago called A Hard Target and was with a Chinese director, John Woo, who was famous for laying, 100 meters worth of dolly tracks. And the camera would move that way. The guys on set called it the John Woo choo-choo, the choo-choo train, yeah, because there was so much movement on the track.
Well, on that note, on Hard Targets, we have this picture over here.
Oh, I like that. All right, look at that.
Yeah, I believe you really enjoyed working with John Woo and would love to work with him again in future.
I did. I loved working with him. He, certainly at the time, he was the most preeminent action director in the world, and he'd done all those cool Hong Kong movies and Bullet in the Head and whatever they were. So this was his first, Hard Target was his first American film. And the Universal Studios got him out to do the movie, and we shot in New Orleans for just under 3 months, 3.5 months, just over 3 months. And it was a great experience because I'd never been to New Orleans. And New Orleans, for those of you that don't know, is a food and music town in the States. And it's one of the few places in America that you can drink out of a bottle in the street and no one will arrest you. So that had its perks.
So you know this from experience.
Yeah. You can walk around there with a container of alcohol and drink out of it and the police will say good morning. So it's all good, yeah. So we had a good time on Hard Target, on set and off set, yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Obviously, you're very well known for The Mummy and you're also famous for your sort of boldish look, right? But there are times when you had longer hair. And one of those times, it was quite long and it was quite exquisite.
Yeah.
That's this time over here.
Yes.
When you were in a play with Al Pacino.
That's right.
Yeah, he's on the back as well, sorry.
Oh, he's on the back. Oh, there he is. Oh, look at that. Yeah, there's the playbill. Wow, Salome, yeah. Al Pacino, yeah. I hate to to break it to you, but that was a wig that I wore, and my head was shaved for that too. I just, I always personally have short hair because then they can stick a wig on me or do whatever it is they want. But that was a great experience. It was my first Broadway production, and if you're going to be on Broadway, you want to be on stage with Al Pacino. So it was wonderful. It was a great experience. But part of the cool thing about Pacino, of course, not just the way he works, because he's really an actor's actor. He'd rather rehearse for 2-3 months than do the show for a couple of days and then close the show and then rehearse again for 2-3 months and then do the show for a week. That's what he would rather do. But the other cool thing about, because he is Al Pacino and he hadn't done a play, I think, in 17 years when we did Salome, everybody came to see him. I mean, when I say everybody, I mean every movie star, every director, everybody I would come out of my dressing room and, they'd all be there. De Niro would be there, or Francis Ford Coppola would be there. They would all be there backstage to see Al and say, hi, we just saw the show and you were great. So it was really cool. It was really cool to be part of that and experience Broadway in that way, yeah.
Isn't that wild? Didn't you have moments where you were like, what am I doing? Like, who am I sitting in front of? It's crazy.
Yeah, there was. I didn't have an epiphany, but there was one night when most of my dialogue was done and I was on stage with him and he was doing his thing and I just thought, yes, this is pretty cool. There's Al Pacino and here I am from Alberton, and I'm on stage with this guy right now. I'm like 5 yards from him. It was just this weird out-of-body moment, which happened. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, it was very cool. Very, very cool. I've been lucky. I've been very lucky.
And speaking of Alberton, you were born in Pretoria as well. And your parents, you grew up in the film industry, I guess. Your parents were stage actors as well,
yes.
And they managed a drive-in theatre. What was that like, growing up with drive-in theatres as part of your life?
Yeah, that was so cool. Some of my earliest memories, I remember, because we lived on the premises as well. We actually lived in the drive-in or on the drive-in grounds. Was right next to the cafeteria. There was a house. So the day, of course, the days were quiet. And I remember riding my bicycle on those little hoops or whatever they're called during the day. And the dogs, we had spaniels, the dogs would run around with me. But then in the afternoon at about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, go have a nice hot bath. And then the projectionist would come and fetch me in the DKW station wagon with one of the dogs, would jump in, and I'd sit right next to the projection booth. They'd park the car, and I'd sit there, and I'd watch, especially on Wednesdays and Saturdays, because they had double features. I'd watch like a 6 o'clock movie, and then go right into the 9 o'clock movie, whatever they were, whether they were, age restricted or not. My parents didn't care. I could watch anything and everything. So I'm sure the kind of movie love was formed there as well, because I would just see everything, because there were 2 movies every week, 2 new movies every week that were screened. Yeah, great memories from growing up on the drive-in. I'd love to buy a drive-in theater when I'm an old man and just live there and show these weird movies to people. Yeah, it would be cool.
That would be very cool. I would come through for sure. If it was here. But
no, it would be here. No, it's got to be a drive-in theater in Africa somewhere. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And why is it important to you to tell South African stories? You've worked in the US. You still, I believe, live in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So why is it important to you to keep coming back and doing stories here?
I don't know. I don't know if it's just a factor that I've just gotten older and being sort of more decisive in what I wanted to do, as opposed to just, be left over to, or have it be left over to the fate or the agents that just call you and you drift from one job to the next. But a few years ago, I made the decision. I said I wanted specifically to be open to more work from South Africa. And the first thing that came my way was Griekwa Stad, that I said yes to, and then Silverton Siege happened, and now the Ludik series happened. And I would love to, in the ideal world, I would love to do 1 or 2 South African projects a year, of course. And then maybe, once every 2 years do something in the States. But we'll see what happens. But I think if Ludik is a success, if people tune in, we'll definitely do a second, third season. And I know Mandla Dube that I did Silverton Siege for is getting ready to do his next thing. And I know he's got a part for me in that. So I didn't alienate him, thank goodness. And I know he wants me in that. So that's great. I don't know. I've always thought of myself as a South African actor. And especially to speak in Afrikaans and work in Afrikaans is just, it's just a joy.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And how do you stay so humble? I mean, you've, again, been in so many huge productions and done so much, but you're so humble as well. And I appreciate that.
Thank you. I don't know. I guess I, got beaten up by the older actors when I was young, and they said, "Be humble, you son of a whatever." But no, I don't know. It's just my nature. I'm just chill. And, ultimately it's not about the actor. It's about the writing. If the writing is good, if your script's good, script is king. If your script is good, you're going to be good in the show, Yes, there are times when you can pop out because you look extraordinary or whatever, but for the most part, script is king. And I've always been taught that, and I've always known that it's not really about you, that it's about the script and it's about the story. And if you all pull together and make that happen, then you can do something interesting, So it's tricky because sometimes you pick stuff, you go, "Oh, this is a really good script," and then you see the thing and it's not at all what you had in mind, because there's the script you read, there's the script you shoot, and then there's the script that they edit. So it's almost like it's 3 different movies or 3 different interpretations. But certainly in the last Grikostad and then with Siege as well, boy, those scripts, everything you see on screen was on the page. So then when you start with that, you've got a good shot at making a good movie.
And also, speaking about being a South African as well, your accent hasn't seemed to change at all. It's like you don't even have an American twang. Do you think it maybe changes when you are in America? Or
Maybe. Yeah, I think sometimes I worry when I speak English that I sound a little American. Certainly my friends in Alberton, friends or family will, they'll rag me and say, you sound so American, But I'm not aware of it. But maybe when I'm in the States, I'll slip into it. But I've been there now over 30 years. So I don't know. I don't really know what my English sounds like, if it sounds pure South African or if it sounds sort of wishy-washy or whatever. Ek weet as ek Afrikaans praat, dan klink ek soos 'n boer. There's no doubt I'm a boer in Afrikaans.
Yeah.
But in English, I'm not sure what I am. If I sound like I'm from Alberton or Sandton or Bloemfontein, I don't know.
Just speak very well, clearly, I think. It's like it's beautiful to listen to.
Yes. No, the Americans love our accent. The rest of the world does. When you speak English South African, they love it. They think it sounds beautiful, which I'm always surprised by.
I wanted to show you another picture.
All right.
Here we go.
Oh, there he is, Leo DiCaprio. Yeah. Yeah. Blood Diamond. Another good script. Very good script.
I believe you actually helped him with his accent.
Yes. Leo was, he had worked with a coach, of course, and, but it's one thing to work with a coach in West Hollywood and then come to a movie set in South Africa and you have real South Africans opposite you who sound different to what you've been trying to do. But he worked very hard and he ended up pulling it off. He was great. The other guy that was really good at a South African accent, because it's a hard one to do, was who was in Invictus? Who was it?
Matt Damon?
Matt Damon, that played the rugby player. He did a very good South African accent. It's tricky. It's a very tricky one, but he did well. Yeah, we were, I didn't help Leo. The only place I helped him was in post-production, because once the movie was cut together, he wanted me to. And Ed Zwick, the director, wanted me to sit with Leo and then just go through the movie and find if there was something egregious, if there was some Afrikaanse woord or something that Leo did that was really off. that they expected me to speak up and say, no, that just sounds funky. Let's change that. And then Leo would just jump in front of the mic and redo it. But there was not a lot of that. So he worked very hard, and he's a hard worker. That's why he is where that's why he's the man. That's why he makes $20 million a movie. Because he'll work and work and work and insist until he gets it right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one, the one that I think everyone sort of definitely remembers you from.
Yes, Imhotep and the Mummy. Yeah. It's shocking how popular. Not because I think they're bad. They're great movies. Also a good script. But we were all caught off guard by the popularity. We knew, because it's sort of a ride and it's Indiana Jones fun kind of vibe, roller coaster ride movie. But we were all taken aback, including Steve Summers, who wrote and directed them. We were all taken aback about just how huge those movies became, the first and the second one. Even today, 20-something years later, 25 years later, I'll have people stop me and say, I'm sick of your face, because my kids have the DVDs and my 9-year-old watches it 3 times on a Saturday, and my 11-year-old watches it 4 times on a Sunday, and I never want to see you in a movie again. So they're still popular. People love those movies. I guess it's a childhood memory or something for them. But they were fun. We shot those in Morocco, all the exteriors, and all the interiors were at Shepperton Studios in London, where they built these fantastic sets. And great experience. Very, very cool experience. And this was this was the same producers that had done Hard Target, who introduced me to Steve Summers, because there really wasn't an audition. How do you audition to be a mummy? It's a tough thing, it's a weird thing. So they just took a bunch of meetings with actors that they thought would be good in the part. And I went in and met Steve Summers, and that day, end of that day, still I got the call that I'd gotten the part. So, and I remember saying to Steve afterwards, "Why did you hire me?" And he said, "Well, I turned around after you left the room. I said to the producers, well, this guy, he looks fairly intimidating. I think he can do this, but is this guy cool? Is he going to show up drunk on set?" And they're like, "No, he's cool. He's going to show up on set. Don't worry. He's going to be sober. He's going to do the work. It's okay." And a lot of Hollywood works like that, where somebody doesn't know you or they hadn't worked with you before. They'll call the director or the producer or star that had worked with you and say, "Okay, I'm thinking of this guy for this gig, and is he cool? Is he gonna me up, or is he gonna work? What's the deal?" And so you are as good as your reputation.
For sure. And I was wondering about the audition process, like if you had to do that open mouth thing, and they were like, "Yes, that's a good mouth,"
Right. No, thankfully none of that. No, I just went in and met him. He asked if I'd read the script, and I said, of course I read it, and it was fun. It was a nice ride. It was like an action adventure vibe, and in terms of my part, I said the only thing that I know I can play for you is a man in love. This guy is the bad guy and vomits flies and does whatever he does, kills millions of people or whatever he does. But he does it because he loves this woman, Anachsunamun. And that's if I can play a man in love, then I think we'll be all right. And he said, "Okay, that sounds good." Yeah. And then, like I said, he turned around when I'd left and asked the producers to vouch for me, and they did, and I got the gig.
Amazing. Yeah. And your life changed.
Yeah, it really did. Because those movies, I know that both of them together, purely in box office and then DVD sales and stuff, had made, more than $1 billion worldwide. And it's just insane. I mean, it's just, even today still at Universal Studios in Hollywood, if you go to the theme park and in the one in Orlando, there's a mummy ride. Which is weird, but when you see yourself on this ride, it's crazy. But still today they're popular, amazingly popular. Yeah. Doesn't matter what else I do. I think even if I did other stuff and got nominated for something, or whatever comes my way. Doesn't matter what else comes my way. And I've been very lucky. I think in my obituary will say, the guy that played the mummy guy died last night. That's what it'll be. It doesn't matter what else I do. That's what it's going to be. The mummy died last night. Yeah.
The mummy becomes a mummy.
Yeah.
Shame, but it's an incredible way to be remembered as well.
No, it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good.
There's a funny moment from that exact scene, I believe. You can tell us more about it, where I believe there were wind machines that were blowing on you at this time when you had to raise the sandstorm.
Yes, we were we were on these massive dunes, and of course you got to get up there without touching the sand, which is a whole nother story because you can't have tracks. But we had wind machines blowing on us, and the sand literally. It's like what do you do when you go for a beauty treatment? And they sort of exfoliate, right? So imagine you standing there in a G-string, and they've got massive wind machines blowing on you, and your entire body is being exfoliated. But Brendan at some point comes over, on a camel or something, Brendan Fraser, and the director's on a loudhailer like 100 meters away, yelling instructions: lift your arms, do it bigger, do it smaller, scream, do whatever. And all right, finally, cut. And I remember Brendan looking over to me and says, "Man, when this movie comes out, we're never going to work again. This is going to be terrible." Because it just feels so awkward. You're standing on a sand dune, waving your arms, your skin's being peeled off. You can't really hear the director. You're just trying to do what you think he wants you to do. So it's always awkward in those moments. But the thing cuts together. It looks beautiful. And, everybody thinks you're the hero. Yeah.
I felt like I had to touch on this one. Before The Mummy, there was another film that got a lot of people interested in you.
Oh, look at this. Yeah, Billy Zane. I've never met him. Yeah, I never met.
Really?
Yeah, I've never met Billy Zane, but we certainly look alike. And I always thought it would be fun if an enterprising producer or director picked or wrote something specifically for both of us, where we play, brothers or whatever the case might be. But a lot of people, when they see me, they'll come to me and they go, "Oh, I loved you in Titanic." And of course, I never tell them that I wasn't the guy. I go, "Oh, it was a great movie. Yeah, thank you. Great movie." So I always just say yes,
Even to this day.
To this day, yeah. People come to me and say, "Oh, I loved you in Titanic." I'll be, "Lekker. I wasn't in Titanic, but I don't tell them that. I go, "Lekker," because you don't want to confuse them in that moment. It took courage for them to come up to you in the first place, and you don't want to say, "No, what are you talking about? I'm not that guy." That's going to confuse the hell out of them. So I'll just say, "No, it was thank you for watching it, and it was a great experience to make Titanic." Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah,
Kate Winslet was wonderful.
Yeah, she's a lovely girl, great kisser. She's, the whole thing was wonderful. Yeah.
It's funny that he played a bad guy in Titanic pretty much as well, and that's kind of what you did a lot of roles as bad guys too. But I feel like it's not so much like that anymore.
Yeah, I guess I'm older now, so I don't know if you can pull off the bad guy thing anymore as you get older. But the nice thing about this Ludik project is that it's not a straight up good guy. The Ludik character is definitely Don Ludik is. Let's just say he's multifaceted. He's a good bad guy or a bad good guy. I'm not sure which one. Yeah.
That's what I would love to talk about next.
Here he is. Yeah, look at that. Yeah.
Ludik is the first Netflix Afrikaans series ever.
Yes.
Which is absolutely incredible, and now you're a part of it too.
Yeah.
What can people expect from Ludik?
Sure, the South African audience, I think, are going to love it because they're really going to see themselves and their friends and family in this movie. We've got a bit of everything in it. Well, in the series, it's 6 1 hours. Don Ludik's patriarch of this wealthy family from Pretoria. He sort of owns, think of like IKEA worldwide or whatever. He owns Ludik Furniture. That's all over Africa, and a very wealthy businessman, but he dabbles in other businesses too, and it comes back to haunt him when his brother-in-law who he's very close to, gets kidnapped. and he's forced to then work with enemies, reject friends in order to save his brother-in-law's life, and the plot thickens. But we shot the whole thing in Pretoria. Pretoria is a character in the story, and when we say Afrikaans series, it's really 40%. I'm not sure exactly, but I would venture it's 40% Afrikaans, 60% English, South African English. In the series, and characters speak like we speak in South Africa. We speak English, Afrikaans, Vernac, Zulu, Xhosa, whatever. So that's all in the show. And the scripts were fantastic from the get-go. I remember reading the pilot and then immediately reading the second and third episode. And I knew I was going to do it. I hadn't even read the last three when this came across my desk. Really well written and beautifully shot. The cool thing about Ludik, I think what people will notice as well, audiences, certainly discerning audiences, is that it doesn't look any different from any of the American shows. It's not like good for a South African show. It's just a good show, period. It's going to compete with, and it does, because it has to. Now on Netflix, you're like in that biscope all over the world, so people watch Ozark on a Saturday night, and Sunday they're like, all right, let's give Ludik a shot. They don't want to see something of lesser quality. They want to see the same thing that Netflix is known for, and that's what Netflix is very good at, is maintaining that quality, whether it be in Korea or South Africa or wherever. So the South African crew upped their game, and the thing looks beautiful. I mean, the show just looks rich and beautiful and sexy, and you'll get to know Don Ludik and the family. Yeah.
I feel like South African productions being released are just getting better and better.
Yeah.
The quality is exceptional. How do you think streaming services like Netflix are changing the landscape of the film industry?
They really are, and they really have. In terms of the quality aspect, because it's that exact thing that I just said, that they expect you to up your game because they have this international theater that they have to fill with content, and they know that their audience is used to a certain kind of quality, so they've certainly upped that. And then the cool thing now, 30 years ago, I'd left South Africa in order to go to America. I always say that had I been able to speak French, I would have gone to France, because I thought at the time they made the best movies, but I couldn't speak French, so I couldn't go to France. So I went to the States instead and worked there. But now if you're an 18, 17, 18, 20-year-old actor or crew member and you wanted to work internationally, you don't have to go there anymore. You can make a Netflix show that is going to get seen. On the 26th of August, when this thing drops, it's going to get seen from Tokyo, Japan, to Bogota, Colombia, that same day that we can see it in Joburg. So people will see your work over there, and if they really love what they see, then they'll call you. They'll call you here and say, we want you to come to Tokyo and do this toothpaste commercial, or we want you to come to Bogota and be in this movie, or whatever it is, So Netflix and the streaming services that are coming, and more of them are coming in. I know Amazon is now starting to make its presence felt in South Africa, and I'm not sure if Apple Plus is here yet, and
Yes.
Disney, and so ultimately there'll be 6 or 7 streaming services that'll dominate the field worldwide, but it's cool. It's just great that we can do a movie or do a show in South Africa in Afrikaans, and it gets seen worldwide. I mean, that's the best part of it.
Absolutely. And our talent is also world class. I mean, I guess you can speak on that better than anyone because you've worked with all sorts of different people. How do you feel then when you come home and you work with fellow South African actors?
Yeah, no, I mean, there's no shame in being a local South African actor. Once again, it depends on your script. If your script is good and humming, then everybody's going to be good in that, And conversely, the same thing, you could work with the Al Pacinos of the world and the Kate Winslets of the world. But if you're in a rubbish script, then it's just not going to be lacquer. It's just not going to be great. So script is king. If the script is good, the actors are going to be good. Script really is king. That's the most important thing. And I always pick it's tricky. Sometimes you pick a job for money. Sometimes you pick a job because of the location. If they're shooting in Hawaii for 3 months, doesn't matter if the script's rubbish. You're going to go. It's going to be great. But ultimately, it's the script. If the script is good, you've got a good shot at making a movie. So the local actors, as long as they can keep doing quality scripts, they'll be in good shape.
Amazing. We'll take that as a piece of advice, I'd say, for the young people out there who want to be actors.
Good script is everything. I mean, that's why, Mr. Shakespeare is still in business, because those are pretty good.
Absolutely. Arnold, obviously you're in South Africa a lot. What is the one thing that you love to do or buy when you come here?
That's tricky, because the things that I love most about South Africa are sort of the things you can't quantify. It's the sunsets, It's the way it smells just before it rains. So those sort of ethereal or I don't know what to call them. Things are the things like the Hardy-Da sound or something are the things that I love the most. Things that you can't buy. Are the things that I love the most about South Africa. I suppose just childhood memories. But those are the things that I certainly love most about South Africa, yeah. And you can get great cappuccinos here. You get better cappuccinos here than in America, for sure. Coffee in America is cuck, so...
Really?
Yeah, it's not so lekker, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
No, it's not as good. And tea as well. Tea is awful in America. It's really awful. And also they don't do biltong there. Now I'm saying all the things that you can buy, a tea, coffee, biltong. They have beef jerky that's disgusting. Yeah, it's awful. Our biltong is lekker, yeah. Yeah. But the things I love most about South Africa, those intangible things. I miss that the most.
There's 2 things that I've heard you mention a lot. Stony.
Yes, of course. Yeah, no, my favorite things are Stony ginger beer and bar ones, for sure.
Do you buy them every time you come here?
I do. As soon as I get off the airport, get off at Tambo, I'll go change money, wait for my luggage, and as soon as I come out of the arrival gate, I'll walk over to the nearest shop and buy ice cold Stony ginger beer and 2 bar ones, and then get in the car and go home.
I know you've been in South Africa for a while, but I just thought that I would help you on this journey and bring you a little something.
All right,
so
let's see.
Let me just go get it.
Let's see what you've got. I should probably get royalties from...
you probably should.
From whoever owns these companies. Wow, look at that. Thank you. There it is. Stony ginger beer and bar one.
Yeah, let's get a sponsor.
Yeah, exactly. Let's find out who these guys are and they can... Send some money, please. That's what we want. Yeah. So we can make movies.
Arnold, thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited to see Ludik when it comes out in August, and it's just been absolutely amazing getting to know you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. No, thanks a lot. And yeah, check it out. I think people are going to love it. And South Africans always have this sort of pride, whenever they see their local guys do well. And because I know they come up to me and one of the first 2 or 3 sentences is always like, we're so proud, of you. And I'm proud to be in Ludik and I'm proud to be South African, so enjoy it.
Amazing.
Lekker.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can't do no small talk, no small talk. I'm not with the small talk. Can't be with the small talk.